Black people are not violent. African Americans are not violent. Africans are not violent. We're not running around here starting wars. We're not walking around here killing folks the way that these folks are starting these wars and everything.
Tell me about this idea, American black and white. What does that mean?
It's American black and white because it's the unadulterated truth. And when they deceived them from a sneaky perspective where they went behind their backs and they created these alliances that they have right now today. Those alliances that they created stole from Africa. They stole from Africa and brought all of that over here and say it was all about them.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Obehi Podcast. I remain your host, Obehi L14, where we continue to bring in different guests here to share their story with you. We believe that storytelling is the most powerful instrument out there for us to be able to connect with people and share our value so that the people can understand what we are doing for them, who we are, and where we are coming from. So I'm joining with King today, who is joining me from US. So he's going to be sharing with us his story, why he's doing what he's doing. Of course, we like the brothers, we like the sisters within the African diaspora community. So, Mr. King, could you tell the people who you are? Let's pick it up from there.
Yes, I am Charles King, and I am the creator, founder, and owner of the podcast America in Black and White.
Amen.
And what we do with that podcast is my podcast is about building communities. And that is I target the underserved and marginalized communities, and hopefully of inspiring, motivating, and having those people to have access to the enormous amount of resources that are available in order to make their lives better.
All right. America in black and white. That is interesting. Anyway, we'll come back to that just now. Let's learn more about you, Charles. So, what do you want people to learn about yourself growing up as a child? Let's pick it up from there.
Well, I'm the oldest of three. I have, raised with both my mother and my father. But always, the difference in how things went with me is I have always been primarily the responsible one because I was more than just an older sibling. Primarily, I was the real example for both my brother and my sister. But we growing up, we were not rich, but we were able we were able to survive. There was nothing that we actually longed for that we did not have. And so my childhood, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. It was one that definitely, um, taught me an enormous amount of lessons and taught me values that as I've grown to be the mature person that I am to this day, as to what life means and the values of life, especially when it comes to giving back and helping others.
Thank you so much for that. That is an incredible story. That is truly beautiful. Apart from that, were there other things that sort of shape you into who you are today, looking at maybe your adolescent as a person growing up in your neighborhood?
Well, I mean, I can say that I am one that has adapted, and I've done many many things, right? Such as I can say my military experience when I joined the military. What it did was it was the first real gateway to having the opportunity to come across thousands and thousands of personalities in which I had to learn to adapt to, and just adapting to those and just being able to move through the career I had in the military was one of those things that, and just being able to help me to shape who I am. And it taught me a lot of values actually, because this is where I've got the opportunity to learn to do more of working in teams, and just what teamwork was about, and how to put together teams and so forth.
How long did you spend in the military?
10 years. I was 10 years in the United States Navy.
So you
Yes,
talk
sir.
about teamwork. That is important. So apart from teamwork, and of course being able to work with people from different backgrounds there in the military, of course, where you have a set of rule, definitely that will be very important for you as you shape your career. But tell me a bit about those value that you take home with you, forming who you are today.
Well, you learn that you don't have to do things alone, and when you have good people around you that believe in the mission that you have, that it makes it that much better. So as you're doing the work that you're doing, especially if it's purposeful, purposeful to you and the team, that the mission can be accomplished. And so, would it just help me to learn, especially from the team perspective, is that, no person does everything alone, you know. And I think some people have this concept of, if it's not me, then, it's nothing. But that's not true. I think, especially for these times now, the military has helped me, um, to be able to not just only to deal with people and the times that we have here in America right now, but it's helped me to be able to be flexible and to spread the knowledge of how people should think about survival, how to get along with others, but also when it comes to developing action plans, because a lot of things right now are about action, how to execute those action plans.
What is going on in America right now? That is how you put it. So
Well,
what is going on in America right now? What do you want people to learn about that?
I mean, I think the world knows of the situation that we have here, and that is, there is definitely a lot of political unrest, which is unbeknownst, and also people are struggling. That is when it comes to survival. And just what people um, were used to. Like, we have issues with, from the political perspective, that's actually creating a real serious divide between the top 1% and the rest of the country. And so I think a lot of us are not that people that just don't understand how those processes work. They're kind of like missing out on an enormous amount of things, or maybe not knowing how to do those things. And I think there's a lot of people, that even includes myself, that are trying to make sure that people understand how these processes work. You want to make sure that you get the word out to teach people, how they should be able to survive and why they want to survive if that's what they're looking to do.
That sounds to me like a kind of a social responsibility, civic responsibility there, that need to go around to help people understand how to find themselves in the world and in the United States in this case. Am I correct to view it like that?
Well, yes, you could. It's like that, and then more. It's a lot of just uncharacterized things that are just taking place, and as they're like just so different, and a lot of people don't understand what it is that they're doing right now, or how things are working right now. It's up to us that have a lot of understanding about that, to try to educate a lot of people as to how to move and shake.
All right. I have a question for you, Chaz.
Mhm.
What do you remember of civil right? We are not talking about civil right is not the conversation of the day, but since what we are talking about is more like civic responsibility, helping one another, the community, and all of that, and you be a member of the African diaspora community and the African American. I am thinking that maybe that is a conversation that we can also talk about because were looking at you growing up just now, looking at what you do today, looking at the black and white podcast or American in black and white. We are coming to that just now. So I'm sort of curious what you might tell us about the civil right. If what kind of knowledge you might share with us in that respect.
When it comes to civil rights, I mean, it is obvious that people that are melon like myself, for some strange reason, having to fight for your rights, is one that's been longing ever since the Civil Rights Act of 1965. And so, with people such as MLK, Malcolm X, those people that were fighting for rights, it's like, those things should be just natural things to happen for all citizens. But, there are folk that are still trying to repress those rights in many, many ways. So, access to things are there, but, you know, there's like they try to make those in a limited way, because I think in just knowing that people that look like myself, that are uh, an originator, an original person on the face of the earth where we came from, uh, you know that is what it is. And so, just having to face the facts of lies that have actually put the struggle in a wrong way, to make people believe that this is the story when now it's been uncovered that those stories that are being told are just lies. So now having to go back and not only uncover and tell the historical story of people that look like me and you, um, you know, has shed a big light, shall I say, on what the lies have been around the world. And so it's just very obvious that, you know, people of African descent clearly have not only birthed the world, but being part of the original kings and queens, as you mentioned, from the diaspora, you know, are things that people really need to know, that we're not second class citizens. And the fear is that for the lies and the repression that have taken place, the fear is that we are going to do to them as they did to us. I mean, I don't think a lot of us really think that way, but I think the fear of knowing that we are always uh, thinking more than just in a progressive way, but but the way we fight for our civil rights, and having access to just many things that we need to have. That's a problem for a lot of folk because as the access gets broader, as it gets wider, and as good, shall I say, the more progressive that we become as times have evolved and changed. Um, I think it's the work and the things that we do to make ourselves better. But most of us, knowing that we need to also do this in our communities, we've got to continue to educate. So these things are primarily based on, how we educate our people in our communities in order to make sure that they understand what their rights are and how we actually execute the
All right.
situation to make to take control of our lives.
Thank you so much for that. Anyway, for those of you that are listening to us, I believe that you are getting value out of the conversation. We are talking about social responsibility. We're talking about also your responsibility to take the right action. So if you see what we're talking about here resonate with you, why don't you let us know in the comment section? It doesn't cost you anything. And of course, why not make sure you subscribe to this channel, because we realize that some of you that are listening here, you haven't yet subscribed to the channel. So why don't you do that? If you believe in what we are doing, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and share also with the other people who might find value in it, because this is our commitment to you to bring in good value education. Like you hear our King, Charles King, is telling us here that this is our responsibility to bring good education to our community. But of course, it means it's a responsibility for everybody. So talking of education, Charles, I'm wondering if there was a way the bigger player in the civil rights movement, it could have any impact in you growing up as a young adolescent in the United States. You also said something very important that might actually warrant a further explanation. That we weren't supposed to be fighting for this right; they were supposed to be guaranteed by the Constitution. But of course, having having it said like that and having it apply is a different thing. So it's even very funny. This is 2025. Are we still
Yeah.
fighting for those rights, or is it now guaranteed?
Well, no, it's definitely not guaranteed. It's written that way that it's guaranteed, but it's really not. But this is where, when you think about the struggles of small businesses, that are looking to have access to capital, in order to grow businesses, those are always, very stringent processes in order to get that capital if you're able to get it. And so as it streamlines primarily, what it does is that's like a weed out process, you know. So pretty much you've got three things against you that's going to prevent you from actually getting that loan to grow your business. So that's why an enormous amount of us actually do things from the organic perspective of actually building businesses, but maybe doing them a little bit slow. But still actually doing those things. Um, you know, uh, when you talk about just from that perspective, it's supposed to be guaranteed, but it's not. But you said something else earlier. I couldn't remember because it
No,
was something
no,
I wanted.
how the bigger player in the civil rights movement might have influenced you as you were growing up as a young adolescent in the United States?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that, from the icons that came before me during the time that I was a young kid growing up, there's a lot of influence that came from people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, because, they were out there in two different ways, but with the same mission. They just approached them different. And so when people look at Martin Luther King with the civil unrest of being what they call peaceful, Martin didn't actually just say things like Malcolm X. Malcolm X was the direct approach. And I love that approach because, he was not going to sugarcoat anything when it comes to, what was happening with the people here in the country. Now, the influence of that for me is that, not only did it teach me what civil unrest was, but it also taught me, as to when it comes to my rights, my birthrights, and how things should be for me, like it is for any other individual. It taught me that not only are there road obstacles, that are going to be there, but I'm going to have to break those down to continue my success if I'm going to make it to be what I want it to be, because nobody's going to control my life. Nobody's going to control my life but me. And so what that means is, I don't need somebody telling me what I can and what I cannot do. And so this is why, as I've worked, for the government as well as any other job I've had prior to that, what I've learned is that, you can do a lot of good things and working at a company, but nothing sets the pace of being your own business owner and you making things be the way you want them to be. And so what I got from those icons is the fact that I can have as many businesses as I like. I don't need to have the government to give me anything in order to put that bill, but I can do business with the government if they so choose to want to do business with me. If they don't, oh well. But that didn't stop me from being the entrepreneur that I am. And so, a lot of times, a lot of people don't really think in those terms because they don't feel like they can actually do those things because they feel like, it's just not going to work or they don't feel confident enough. But I will tell you, as I've gone through not just college to get my graduate degree, and being the entrepreneur that I am, because, you know, besides being a podcaster, an author, and a blogger, I am also the owner of SYTM Accounting and Consulting Incorporated, where I do accounting and bookkeeping, I do consulting, and I do taxes. My thing is when I do this work and I do work for the people in the community, I don't charge them rates that are market rates because those rates are very, very high. And so I'm not trying to get rich off people in the community. I'm actually making sure that the services that are needed are there for them. So I meet them at that place. And so uh, that does me justice. That makes me feel better, but it also makes me feel comfortable because, my clients know that I'm there to do whatever is needed to be done for them. And so as I've extended this into the podcast America in Black and White, and looking back at those civil rights icons, I mean, I give it to you straight, I give it to you unfiltered, and it's all true and it's authentic because I refuse to be scripted and to project being scripted because I want people to know that people that come to the show are real and the things that they're saying are real. And so, it's just all about the truth. And, I've got to say that, I think the most influential person, though, in that period that you mentioned for me is Malcolm X.
That is an important point to raise there, because many political students, many history of political science, we have a hard time answering one question for the African Americans in relation to Michael X and Martin Luther King Jr. Because you did say that, of course, they had the same message, though they just approach it differently.
Yes. Yes.
So now, for the political scientist, the question would be, what is the best way to approach this message? Was Michael X the best approach, or was Martin Luther King the best approach? Why I'm asking the question is that both of them were killed in the United States, which is to say that the United States is not really saying what is the best approach to get freedom for the African American, because they should have left one. But it said, I said they killed there because if you go to investigate how they were killed, we can see the hand of the institution in it, no? So that is why I think you need to be clear of what is the right approach to get things done. Is it through violence or through diplomacy? Is it through not doing anything or taking action? What kind of action are the people supposed to take to get
Well,
things done?
there is no right way from my perspective, if you want to know the truth. There is no right way. But I will say It's not about violence. And like sometimes you have to demand, what it is that is yours. So I don't think that, just having to be violent is the thing. But you see, just to be honest and clear so people understand this as well, Black people are not violent. African Americans are not violent. Africans are not violent. We're not running around here starting wars. We're not walking around here killing folks the way that these folks are starting these wars and everything. And so I think the best approach is that when you have to get to that point where you have to demand, what's your rights and what's yours, if you have to demand that, you have to demand that. But you cannot let people just say, oh, I'm going to walk over you, and um, and just take things from you because they feel like they can. No, that does not work. And so I think what has to happen is that when you face situations like that, you have to cut it off right there at that point. That's not something that you want to let grow and let happen on a continuum. Because if it happens on a continuum, then that means that you're going to always be what they call a person they can run over. And so that's the thing. You have to stop it before it happens.
Thank you so much for that. That is enough for the civil rights argument, so that we can talk about more of what you're doing. But I'm not really sure if that is completely different from what you're doing, because you made mention of civil responsibility and all the things that you are doing within the social spectrum. That is actually what led us to this aspect of the conversation, which of course I think is very important, because one of the characteristics of the Obehi podcast here is that we are unscripted. We don't come
Mhm.
here with a scripted question and respond to one, then two, then three. We are not robot. We are human beings. We believe in the interconnectedness of everything. If we like, we can move towards religion, towards politics, towards culture, towards spirituality, because all of it is correct. All of it is part of who we are. So we are not really restricted to just one small angle. We are everything, and everything is us. All right.
Yes.
Having said
Yes.
that, tell me about this idea, American black and white. What does that mean?
America in black and white is just look, it's just that. And so when I say that, you know, some people say that things are not always black and white and that you have to have some gray. Well, I say it's American black and white because it's the unadulterated truth. It's the unadulterated truth. It's fact based and it's just all about the facts. And so if I'm on a subject and I'm talking with a guest and I'm talking about what's happening in America, it's what's happening in America. I mean, we don't do things to just say we want to just create a story in order to tell. This is something that's either happened to the guest or something that is going on with the guest in his or her process and working with people in his or her community. And so we talk about those things as to how they got to this point. We talk about their experiences that they have experienced, that has led to what they're doing in order to help people in the community. So that's just unadulterated. That's just black and white. That's what's happening here in America. And so if there's anything that has tried to skew or interrupt that process, we talk about that as well. And a lot of times, if they want to talk about an actual individual um, that's contributing negatively to the work that they do, then you talk about that person. I mean, because it's just facts. And so I think when you're doing facts and you're telling truth about a lot of people, especially here in America, people aren't willing to hear that. They don't like to hear that because, then they have to answer to that. They have to be accountable. And that's what we do at American Black and White. We want to make people accountable. We want to make you accountable because as we put it out there, come back and hit me up, contact me and let me know that you want to have the opportunity to dispute what we talked about. We can bring you on the show. Let you be live on the air and we can discuss it. It's not about that playing the game of, oh, well, I want to tiptoe through the tulips and I want to make somebody feel comfortable. No, I'm not trying to make you feel comfortable because you're not trying to make me feel comfortable. And it's not a tick for tat, but it's just a true thing because I'm not going to dance on eggshells for nobody. And when you come to my show, you don't have to dance on eggshells. You don't have to get belligerent, but you can actually tell the truth. And that's all it is. And if you're not telling the truth, then we have to cut you off the air because, we're not here as, it's one of those places where people can come and just dish out some craziness and just expect people to do that, because I like to delve deep into what's that truth that you're telling.
That's interesting. What I'm hearing is that the truth sometimes might be uncomfortable, but
Yes,
you're
it
going to have to
is.
face it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not here to sugarcoat it. We're not
No,
here to entertain. This is not an entertainment. This is
no.
information. And information is paramount because
Mhm.
our survival depends on it. Therefore,
Exactly.
it is important how we approach it. I love that. I love that.
Yep. And so then that's why, we've gone a step further because now we have a monthly magazine that we feature our guests in as well. It's called AMIBW. And in that magazine, all of our guests that have been on the show for that month are featured in the magazine. And with them being in that magazine, we have that bio, we've got that interview, we have a short clip of them in there. And also, for those that are entrepreneurs, that are doing whatever they're doing in business, we have those links in there because we like to highlight those things as well as how people that are reading the magazine can connect with these people on their social media as well. And what we display and what we are going to continue to display is Black excellence.
I love
Yes.
that. And again, for that, we're not waiting for somebody to come and celebrate. Or in fact, this is what we do in A Classes Media. In that our version of truth is not going to be done for the purpose of making somebody feel good. We
Right.
don't care about that. We're not trying to ask for a space in the table. We are creating the table.
Exactly.
We're not begging to be heard. We just share our story, our version of it. And I think this is also one of the most beautiful part of sharing our story. That we must have it at the back of our mind that we are not appealing to everybody. We are not speaking to everybody. We are speaking only to those who this story will resonate to. If the story resonates with you, then you are our audience. If it doesn't resonate with you, that is okay. You might not like it. It's not for everybody. We are not speaking to the generality of the people. We are focusing on the demography that have a certain problem, that have some challenges that need solution. We cannot water down the message because we want everybody to like us. No, 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 sorry.
And so, I'll just tell you this. I'll give you this example because, from the continent of Africa, I've interviewed, uh, I think there's been like five guests that's been in like, I don't know if two or three of them may have been in the same country, but I've had five interviews with people on that continent. And those brothers that came on the show, you know, I was really, really proud to have them on the show because what they were able to do was not only talk about the things that they were doing, you know, but, they were talking about how they created the things that they were creating. And see, I think to have that broad reach, I mean, it's something it's a lot of work because, we're talking about, the continent of Africa is like the hugest thing on the face of the earth. And so they don't call her mother for nothing because she birthed this world and everything came from her. So when I talk to these brothers that have come from any part of that continent, I'm always proud to just chat with them, period, because it's like you're looking at originality. And so knowing that we are culturally, that's all of us that are melanin in our skin. We are the original kings and queens on the face of this earth. Plain and simple. There's nothing that can take away from that. But when we think about, how people try to write our story and they give us these false narratives, talking about this is the way, oh, this is the way things are in that country and that country and that country and this country and so forth. You can't spoon feed us lies when I've got people that are actually here telling their story and doing the things that they're doing, and that is far from the truth. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this is where it makes so much sense to be about America in black and white, is because when being with that title, it's got that broad reach because of one thing, and that is we're all African. We're all African descent. And so, in knowing that most of us were already here in America, instead of them still creating that false narrative that everybody that came to America came from Africa, we know that's a lie. There's an enormous amount of folk that did come from Africa on those ships, but most of us were already here. And so that's the story that we're actually getting more into and unfolding that story, because once we really unfold that story and we really connect those dots, and all of us actually take hold, grab hands, and connect, and we still have that reach all the way around the world, because we're all who we are. There's no change in that. We are in what they call each and every culture, but culture is about us. Our culture was stolen and they made it theirs. So we've got to be more on that, especially for these younger kids that are coming up now, because they need to understand that. Because if they don't understand that and they're not getting that story, then they don't truly know the history,
That's
because
so
they
true.
have to know the history.
Yeah,
They've got to know it.
that's so true. I don't know if you want to say something more about the point that you were raising there. I like the black and white. I like the frankness of the story. The fact that we're not trying to appeal to people. Because a lot of what the people read in the storybook actually screw up. That is not story at all. Of course, it's story in the sense that it's only a point of view of some people, but it's
Right.
not. It's only that the point of view of some people.
Hmm.
Now you were saying not every, for example, not every person of African descent in America came through the slave ship. For some
That's true.
persons, that might be difficult that might be unpalatable, difficult to process as information. Share some point there. What would you want somebody to know about that?
Well, I mean, because we do know of the existence of slavery, and what that means is that most of us that were already here in America, again, those Europeans that came once the Moors, when they did their thing, where they went over into Europe and other parts of the world, and they were doing their teachings. And I say this, and I say it from a humorous way, but a real way, and that is, had they left those savages in those caves that they left, and they just left them there, I mean, the world will be totally, totally different, because those people know nothing but violence. When we talk about here in America, we were already here. The Europeans settled here, again, stole the land, killed people, made it theirs, and then wanted to come up um, with this, um, with this narrative where they went and they totally deceived Africa, deceived Africa. And when they deceived them from, again, from a sneaky perspective, where they went behind their backs and they created these alliances that they have right now today. Those alliances that they created stole from Africa. They stole from Africa and brought all of that over here and say it was all about them. Where we know that the royalty that was there was true royalty, but it was not about violence. That's even over in what they had in Europe. All of that was African. All of that. The original kings of especially places like Italy and so forth, they were all black. But the storybook doesn't tell all that. What it says is now you got these folk that are faking as kings and queens that they done made up, and now they done descended and pushed the original folk out and put all those white people there. Then it's like, oh well, Italians are white. Irish people are white. The people in the UK supposedly were white. That's not true. That is not true. That is not true.
You know,
Not by a long shot.
it got even more weird, no? Because somebody would be saying, but why are the European all around just killing people everywhere they go?
Yes.
What is wrong with this kind of mindset that you are the one that are killing people in Africa? You go to Australia, you are the one that are killing people. You go
Yes.
to a Native American land, you go to Canada. Why are the European always doing this? Is it
Well,
that are these people threatening you? Are you suffering from a kind of problem eternally? How can you just be the one making trouble everywhere? Are you
well,
retaliating?
see, you know something that's the $1 million question, because that's something that we'll never get that real answer to, because again, that's accountability, and that's admitting fault for all the things that they've done. So we're never going to get that answer. But we can always cipher that answer from all of the actions that we see that have transpired. And so that's up to us. That's up to us to not only interpret that story, make that story come to light, well, put that story out so it comes to light, but also never let them forget it. Never let them forget it. Because what's happening is they feel very comfortable telling us that we're the savages when they're the ones that's the savages. We ain't never started no war. We ain't never been running around here just running around just killing folk just because. You know, and now over here in America, when they have the opportunity to just get guns, where you got access to guns now, they're like totally, totally free. The majority of the states have relaxed the laws where now it's open carry, like we're in the wild, wild west. Everybody can get a gun. So violence
It's
is
funny.
all they know. That's all they know.
It's funny. It's quite funny. Anyway, I want to really thank you so much, Charles, for the time, for the sharing here. It really have been very beautiful here. And of course, I let people, the audience that are listening to us, please check out American Black and White podcast by Charles King, and see what he's doing there, because that is what we are doing here, to be able to connect among ourselves, to own our story, and to use it, of course, for our upliftment. We're not waiting for somebody to come and do that for us. We are not saying, okay, maybe they will add us to the table. No, we are not doing that. We are creating our table. We are sharing our narrative. We don't even wait for anybody to come and publish us. We are publishing ourselves. So we need to leverage the tools of the age and be able to own our story and use it to our upliftment. So I want to thank you so much for listening to us to this time. And we encourage you again, make sure you subscribe to this channel and make sure you share with other people who might benefit from it, because this is the information. Let's share with those we believe that we get value out of that. So, Charles, what is going to be your final thought here to conclude this conversation?
My final thought is this: that is, for all of us that are not just looking for solace, but we're looking to do the things that we know that we can do, what we should be doing, and we do those things the way we know that they should be done. Do not be afraid to take the opportunity or to take the chance to do what it is that you feel that you'd like to do and how you want to contribute. Let's all get together though and it's very, it's very important that we stay about our communities and we build our communities. We connect with our communities. We connect with our people, because if we're not going to connect, we're going to miss out on what's real. And what's real is about that real, that real power of just being together and uniformed around this whole entire world. Because if we're not uniformed, then we're going to miss out.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I really do. It's been a pleasure here talking with you. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you.